Welcome, welcome, welcome to Flood-o-rama. It's another lovely night of Worldwide Magazine, St. Louis's home movies. Thank you all for coming. I'm very excited to watch all about dirty river water that just got everywhere. I think one of the most interesting things about what Jim has put together, clipping together basically 4 shows of covering the '93 flood, that is a huge scar in like St. Louis '90s history, right? This is national attention. President Bill Clinton and Al Gore are going to come visit the Midwest and talk to everybody whose house is now filled with black mold. Terrible stuff. But I think what's really interesting is how Worldwide Magazine, on the ground, right away, covering the coverage even. There's the flood, and then there's the coverage of the flood, and the frenzy, and the way that all St. Louisans are reacting to it. An interesting thing to maybe look out for. Thank you all for coming. It really is so cool to just have like the original cast here. We're going to do a Q&A afterwards, but give it up for our chief Worldwide Magazine archivist, the man with the mostest, Jim Varagona.
So it might be difficult for some of us to remember or imagine the levels of floodwaters and devastation that occurred in 1993 in this area, especially when right now we're at historic low levels. So Pete Parisi knew it was important to document that event, and I think you might hear him say that a couple of times. But he had to do that on his own terms, which we're going to see tonight. We'll experience preparation for the flood with Pete and crew, then see homes underwater, and after the water recedes and leaves piles of trash and stench. You'll see Pete's silliness throughout that, but by the end you see him drained by all of it and kind of in awe of the destruction. His skill in finding all kinds of people to talk to and setting it to a perfect soundtrack are at play here. The talents of Mike Perez behind the camera, and Kathy, who we have here, and Laurie with the microphone are appreciated as well. So we are definitely appreciative to have Kathy for the first time with us, and some of the other cast members with us tonight. So Flood-o-rama, the name, it comes from how Pete titled one of these. There were 4 episodes, as Devin mentioned, of flood coverage. Flood World was another catchy one. I haven't been able to find the first of the 4 episodes, but in one of Pete's later compilation episodes, he does feature a music video from it. So we'll start off with that and kind of move on to the rest of it. So I thought Flood-o-rama was kind of apropos for tonight's program. And without further ado, Worldwide Magazine.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Big Mike. I used to be on the show. I wasn't on tonight's show. They did mention my name at the time when they saw the dead deer. Where's Kathy at? Did she leave?
No, I'm right here.
Okay, I'm very glad that Kathy was featured on tonight's show, because back in the day, Kathy used to kind of tread on my heart a little bit, but I mean, that was 30 years ago. I thought it was all water under the bridge, but she came in tonight and she went up to Angelo and a big hug and a kiss. Tim, a big hug and a kiss. Don't trust. What did she say to me? Not a goddamn thing. Not one goddamn word, Kathy. It's too late now. All right. I'd like to sing this song to Kathy.
Okay.
Unchain my heart, Kathy.
Okay, so we have Dave Dump Truck Perry there. Yeah! You saw him in the boat. We listened to the vocal stylings of Big Mike Carlos here. Kathy, we saw her throughout most of this. Yeah. Here's Laurie, we saw a bit of her there. Mike Pepe Perez, he was the cameraman. Angelo, who played Uncle Nunzio and Hung Way Low. And Tim Kniest at the end here.
Yeah.
Did a lot of original music for the show, played Stinky. His wife was Miss Kathy.
Tim Elvis.
Yep, Tim Elvis. Yep.
Jacko Homo.
So, Dave, Kathy, Mike, Laurie, watching that back, what comes to mind? Is anything?
I don't remember. I remember watching the shows. I don't remember the little piece that I was in, but I don't remember a lot from back then.
Wonder why that is.
That's a good question. But wow, what footage?
Pete worked really hard on that. That was like 40 shows in 4 weeks, which was a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot. So yeah, he worked really hard on that.
Yeah, and it's not like today, you know, where you have a nice editing suite on your laptop.
Right.
And kids can make pretty good looking videos. And back then, Pete had those giant machines.
Right.
And a controller between them, and they both weighed like 80 pounds each.
Oh, they were more than that.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But he had that stream of consciousness thing going there. Some of it is, the limitations of the equipment, but he could always come up with some really good stuff. Like these artifacts of a changing city.
Sure.
And you see those cars parked there, and cars are so different today from the cars and everything in that footage. That you could tell that Pete really felt bad.
Mm-hmm.
For all these people, and it was hard to be in that environment.
Sure.
Because it was kind of toxic, It was the sort of place you'd be where when you leave, you just want to put your shoes in a bag, and
Yeah.
pitch them, because you're walking around in this really, it's like a biohazard, some of it.
Sure.
You can see on the footage that, that mold and mildew, they really take hold, and, it's over.
Sure.
Those houses look like total losses to me. So I hope they got some help. And I used to hang out down there before I even met Pete. There was a guy I used to buy used LPs from. His name was Tom Taylor, I believe, and he had a little shop there. He had a lot of, I don't know where he got it from, but he had lots of LPs and I got a lot of good stuff there back in those days. And, he was pretty well along in his years back then. So, but it's nice also to see these people, who work so hard for like 20, 30 years, and then just see this, everything wrecked,
Yeah.
in their lives, and you really felt for them. By the end, that shot at the end, that noise from the generator was so deafening,
Mm-hmm.
that, that's why I pointed the camera at it, because it was just, that's the only thing, except for the cars and the people, everything else was just wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
You see all that memorabilia and all your belongings on the street,
Yeah.
and you're going to carry it away by, backhoe. That's pretty devastating stuff. So I was happy I was involved in that, but it was really taxing
Sure.
to do all those things. And then we had Dave down there who hooked up with Lance. Got that great guy to, float that boat over there with heads up by the phone lines, on that high river, and it was really something.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. How'd you guys? Yeah,
Kind of
fun.
miserable.
Yeah.
I didn't really look forward to going back, for the 4 in a row. But
Sure.
I'm glad it all happened, because you could see stuff, like I said, they're artifacts of a changing city.
Mm-hmm.
Things are completely different now. We came in a little late in the dark, but I was just amazed at how many things have changed, you know, like on Grand.
Yeah.
I used to hang out down there too, you know, before I ever met Pete and all these, you know, nice people here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah. Right. Show,
Whatever.
you know, and it was Peter's thing, and so it kept changing. You know, I first started watching Worldwide Magazine on cable, and, you know, watching these guys.
mhm.
And his beautiful music that he could do. He was very talented.
Sure.
Very talented musician there. And writes some nice original material too. I got to hear some of that. You know, and people would contribute, besides Vanessa, would contribute, you know, music to the show.
And you all pretty much got involved because you saw the show and kind of latched onto it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I used to watch it on
that seems to be the
television.
common story.
I didn't know Pete, but I knew of Vladimir Noskov,
Mhm.
you know, the Mad Russian, because I used to listen to him when I first moved into St. Louis in
Hosted a
85.
reggae show on KDHX.
Yeah, KDHX. He had like, I think it was Friday nights. He had like a 4-hour slot. And, you know, you couldn't really get a really good reggae show, you know, on FM. It was just about the only one. You know, and I haven't seen him in a long time, but, you know, I know he's still kicking.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had some issues, you know, some problems, but, you know, I hope he's well, and I wish you'd, you know, see him sometime, you know. He's a good guy, you know, a little rowdy, but, you know,
Yeah.
very smart.
He has his
I always
moments.
loved doing stuff with him, because even though he gave Peter a hard time, you know, we would look at the footage, you know, fresh footage, unedited,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a strong point of view, you know, if you know him a little bit. He's like that, but he's very bright and funny, and he could just make remarks that would just drive people crazy, you know, and he would just walk away clean most of the time.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, I liked working with him, but he was, like I said, we were watching the footage, he was just so demanding. You know, put this in here, put that in there, do this over there, and after a few hours of that, he'd leave, you know, huff, you know, and that was fine, but then Peter would look at me and say, like, you know, you could see Mike, he's driving me nuts, you know, he's driving me crazy, what should I do? You know, why is he doing this?
Put him on another show.
Yeah, and I said, I would tell Pete, well, you know, he is good. You know, when he's on there,
Yeah.
he's pretty funny, you know, and it's a nice entertainment. It's kind of, you know, a little offensive, but what the heck? You know?
Well,
I don't think you could do a show like that nowadays,
switching gears for a minute,
you know?
has anybody seen, heard of Vanessa? I mean, what?
No. I was hoping to see her again someday, but no.
I heard from her probably about 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
and-
Is that long enough?
Yeah, I don't know how I got a hold of her originally. It was via email, and she gave me her number, and we talked for 2 separate, like, 1-hour calls, but she's just as she is on the show, as you guys know, and
She's still over in the Granite City area.
I believe so. She did live in St. Louis for a short period of time, trying to make it big.
You know, I hung out with her a few times. I don't remember the reasons why. And it was a lot of fun. Because she's really is absolutely as charming to me. I
Yeah.
always saw her that way as she was on Worldwide Magazine.
Yeah.
But it was kind of because I went over there. I don't remember why exactly, to visit with her and her mom at the house where they stayed. I could never find it again. You know, it was an old 2-story house, and mother was wonderful. But the thing I noticed about Vanessa was a lot of the way she was in front of the camera was an affectation.
Mhm.
She didn't really talk that way. At least, you know, when I was with her and her mother, her voice was different.
Really?
You know, more like I guess you know, an everyday person instead of someone, you know, the persona that I believe that she played, you know, on that show. I mean, when I would hang out with her alone, we would converse, and she was just the same thing that you see on camera. You know, a little mixed up, a little
Yeah.
confused about what's going on, but you know, that was Pete's
Confused,
style.
that's
Yeah.
what it
And you
Yeah.
guys here can all say,
Yeah.
you guys all know it. he wouldn't really tell you what you're gonna do in advance. He'd say like, I have this and this, we're gonna go to this area. I had no idea we were gonna do 4 visits on the flood, you know, and I liked seeing Vince again in that footage, because I really liked him a lot. Him and Marty, really, really good guys. I don't know if Marty's even still around.
He is. He is. He said he was going to come to the last thing, but he does things on his own terms. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that he's.
Well, there are certain people that try to distance themselves from the show. Vanessa's one.
Yeah. Well, you can see in there how Pete's being kind of.
Well, yeah.
mean to her, you know.
Her.
She thought I was mean to her too, but it was never meant to be mean. Come on, the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but you know, she's had a more delicate sensibility.
I would compare Vanessa and Vladimir in the respect that they both had told me separately that they didn't watch the shows as they aired. They ended up watching them far after that, and were kind of offended how they were portrayed sometimes, or didn't like the edits that they were given, basically.
Yeah. But I think Vladimir got a lot of good stuff on air.
Yeah.
Especially with the political campaign or Pat Buchanan.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that we actually carried that off.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier, you could not make a show like that today.
No.
Because they would be yanked.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be able to do it. And that reminds me too of how hard Pete would work, because then he'd have to make tapes, like he had a master tape of the finished show.
Yeah.
And then he would have to copy it a few times, and then we'd truck it out to,
Drive it to the different
West County
Yeah.
cable company out there.
Yeah.
And then, they would hassle him. Well, I remember being at a few of those meetings, and they weren't very long, but they let him know that we're going to take a really close look at this thing. Every time they would grill him like that. We're going to take a really close look at this thing, and they were dead serious that if we don't like it, something we don't like that we see in there, you're not going to see any of it on the program. We'll just show something else or a test pattern or whatever it was. And so
Now that does make me think of.
That's real testimony to his devotion to doing his thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
These guys, he was like starting out, and then it phased into something else. And after I had to leave the city to follow my employment, it phased into something else. And, it was all about him. The alienation, the hurt feelings, nobody could deal with his personality. You saw some of it in there. He's a little bit, he carries on a little bit. He riles people a little bit. And so I think when he met the Russian, they hit it off. I wish I still had copies. I used to make cassettes, put them in a jam box, when Vladimir and Pete collaborated on some radio programs on AM. And they brought in, except in a sonic way, an audio way, those same sort of collage effects that he would do on the videos. So they were mixing in political speakers and people on the street and reggae music and this and that, and I wish I had those tapes, because that'd be like a rare recording. It was a nice collaboration for a few months that they did, together. And you can imagine the fights they had about that. I wasn't in any of those, but they like to mix it up.
Sure.
But Vladimir was just such a strong personality that Pete would just eventually just kind of sink further and further into his nice easy chair. He would always hear him out.
Yeah.
He was really a nice guy. You can remember shows like with Elliot and Alex, for example. Like you get the idea, like, oh, he was horrible. He was torturing them all the time. But I used to visit them, and Elliot and Alex were there, and they actually had a very good rapport. And they would ask Pete for advice, and Pete was really earnest with them. talking about the hard knocks you're gonna see, is all the competition you're gonna grow up into, and you guys are doing a good job in school, and then, I would be on my bike, and then me and Alex and Elliot would go for a ride. I don't know where they are now, but I hope that they're okay.
They're well.
They're really nice. They were good boys.
Yeah.
Really good boys.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they were Linda's kids, and they were really good guys.
I can say that they are well, and
Oh,
they want nothing to do with this either.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think so.
yeah. Does anyone here have any questions while we still have some remaining folks?
I guess that restaurant that you visited off of South Broadway, I don't know what that Frank.
George and Helen's.
George and Helen's,
Did you
yeah.
Go back.
Can't really remember
Not
if
me.
they ever really did,
Yeah.
or if they ever really opened.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
That was hard to look at, that footage. That was really hard to watch.
It was hard to be there. I mean, come
Because,
on, you were there behind the camera. It was-
You can see it in their faces, they've been dedicated to that place for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I can remember eating there, and I liked it, but I don't remember too much after that, But it was really heartbreaking to see that,
Now that,
You work so hard, and you live on the second floor, and then the whole place just, within a few weeks, is just devastating.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't really see any way you could salvage that stuff.
I mean,
Third floor.
I'm sure that's when a lot of South Broadway, the remaining businesses closed.
Yeah.
around that time.
I'd like to take a run down there sometime.
Yeah.
Just to see what's there anymore.
Yeah.
Meadows Edge was really a wonderful place. I used to
Yeah.
go there before I was ever.
And even after that, it went through several entities.
Yeah, it's on Mahogany Rush at Meadows Edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frank Marino was standing right there, that wonderful guitar player, and he was right there, and it was just loud as hell, but it was like a really cool. That was a cool place, nice bar, and
I was-
people mind their own business, got low lights, there's a lot of things going on in there that are not,
On the up and up.
but it was a fun place. It was a fun place.
I was going to mention that the Courtesy Diner that was across the street, the building is still there. The structure's still there.
Really.
I don't think it ever reopened as that though.
Is there
right.
still a Courtesy Diner in St. Louis?
The one on Kings Highway closed.
Okay.
They opened one.
There was
McLeod
one
and
in
Watson.
Hampton, wasn't there?
The one on Hampton is still there. Yeah. Yeah.
We used to eat there, and we had fun. People would leave us alone.
Yeah.
And they would recognize Pete, but they're kind of scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
I love that everybody is scared of
Watching
Pete.
the show. You could see people ducking out of the frame in those footage, like whoa. Especially the police.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't want to be. They don't
Yeah,
want
it's
to
like
be
you want to
seen.
be on TV because you're a
All the
cop.
police.
Other people were so
Oh,
upset.
yeah.
Other people were so upset when we saw them on camera there.
Yeah.
They were just devastated by it, and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you could just feel it. So it was tough. I mean, it was nice in a way because you could just walk away. Right?
Yeah.
You could just walk away and carry on with the rest of your day. But for them, it was like, oh man, weeks after week after week of that, and it's like trying to keep a giant ship from sinking. After it hits the rocks or an iceberg or
Right.
something. It's a total loss.
Dave, I did want to ask you. Kept going with the mantra of positive attitude. Did you truly have a positive attitude throughout that?
No, I didn't.
You fooled me.
No, there was no positive attitude whatsoever.
I didn't know if you were just trying to get yourself in that mood,
I had to stay with friends, more than one or two or three friends.
Mhm.
This one night, this one another night. And the best thing to come out of that is how much help we got.
Sure.
From FEMA, Red Cross, Salvation Army. They took care of us real good. I got a bunch from them that I really maybe didn't entitle. I got all new furniture, new clothes. They helped out. They sent cash money. But that was my biggest thing about that. But no, sir, I was not happy. But I was happy with what was going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it comes across very positive, but you know.
Good acting.
Oh, he's a
Yeah.
wonderful actor.
Yeah.
I'll just say it, you know, I always call him like, I say, Pete, we're gonna go see 101% Dave.
Yeah.
Because everything he does, you know, is like right there, right on. And you know, Pete sometimes would ask people, can you do this again or that again?
Oh, yeah.
But not with Dave. You know, the first time, boom. Everything that every last thing that I remember
Well,
shooting,
Peter helped with that.
he was just boom, right on character, whatever it was. And then the next minute, he's a gentle giant.
Yeah.
He's ranting at the
Thank you.
camera.
Thank you very much.
And he's just a really regular, nice person. He's kind of soft-spoken, I thought.
Yeah.
And I really like what his stuff on that show. You know, when he's sitting, he's the tour guide,
Yeah.
and at the front of the boat. That was pretty
That
good.
was quite a tour that day.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have gotten in there. You knew Lance, right? You looked us
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
so that we could get on there. And I had no idea that our heads were up on the phone lines, you know.
Yeah. Way up
And
there.
that was really something. It was scary a little bit, but as long as it was a fiberglass boat, you know, what the heck. So we took a lot of
Hopefully the
risks.
guy driving.
Yeah.
That's right. A lot of these guys,
Jumped off a
these
roof,
people,
you
they
know,
took a lot of risks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of the things that they did, and just like I said before, just walking around in that environment was like, oh man, you know, you just don't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to breathe that.
There was a lot of snakes everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was in the house, in the cabinets, or the,
Yeah, I remember seeing a few, and they were good sized.
yeah.
They were pretty big. And that'd be a hell of a thing to live with, you know, for a long time.
Mhm.
I've had some rough times, ups and downs, but nothing like that. You know,
Yeah.
driven out of your digs, and you know, you have to rely on other people or to help you, and they really did a lot. I remember that one woman was on camera, and that she was almost in tears.
Tears, yeah.
And then there were other
Pointing out
people
some
who were
words.
kind of the same. You know, they were upset to see this happening, and you know, you gotta be. Those people are nice, you know.
Yeah.
They really come out of nowhere. They don't know anybody who's out there living, but they come in with, you know, nice things, supplies and stuff that people could use.
Mhm.
I'm sure everything in that under those tents got used.
Yeah.
Everything probably went through every last
It sure did.
napkin or plastic fork or whatever, you know, and they got through all that, and that's, you know, it's really something.
Mhm.
I'm glad that, you know, Pete stayed with it for 4 shows, but it was like seeing misery and war and.
Well, I was going to mention that, like, even at the end of that, the end of this is at the end of that 4th episode. It almost seems like Pete's all choked up at the end there.
Yeah, he
He
was
kinda
a little
was.
bit. He
Yeah.
was a little
Yeah.
bit. But the other thing with Pete was his condition, you know.
Yeah.
His physical ailments.
Mhm.
They're always bothering him a lot of the time. You know, you could see it a few times on camera. He has heartburn, you know, and he could barely get the words out sometimes. But he wasn't the type of person who would complain. Like, oh, I feel so terrible. Why are we doing this? It's so awful. I feel bad. And you knew that he wasn't feeling well.
Right.
Every time you see him, you knew that it was a struggle for him, you know, to get up and go. But he was the leader, and you know, that energy was really, it drove the show for a long time.
About how old was he at this point? Just,
Jeez.
can you recall?
It's about 50.
Well, he always looked older than he was because of his
I
ailments.
want to say he was only in his
Mid-40s?
Yeah.
mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
during the
He was
show.
born
Yeah,
47.
during the Flood show.
Oh,
Yeah.
47.
Yeah, late
Okay.
40s.
Yeah.
He was 2
When
years
he-
older than everybody.
When he died, he was 59, right?
Yeah, it was terrible.
In
I saw him
2002.
once. I came back from the Quad Cities a few times, and I visited with him, you know, but, and it was a really nice visit. The first time I saw him, I just ran up and kissed him on the cheek, you know, because I missed him so much. I've said it before to Laurie, that he was like the brother I never had.
mhm.
And I miss him a lot, you know. I think of him almost every week. But if I watch Worldwide Magazine on YouTube, you know, it's like, whoa. I love it, but sometimes it's just so many memories come back.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like,
A lot of them are not happy, you know, but a lot of them are happy, and others are just fulfilling, and I was just glad to be a part of it.
well, yeah, like I think of this and refer to it as like St. Louis's home movies, but I mean, it's like home movies for you guys too.
Yeah, yeah,
Parts of your lives that were documented, you know,
yeah, that's true.
so.
And thank you, Jim, for what you do as far as what.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I never saw it, there was a giant
Yes.
picture, and the great sound.
Thanks, yeah.
I loved it. I've never seen it on such a big screen.
Yeah, that was
And that was,
a big takeaway the first couple of times we were here, is watching it with an audience is, it's quite something,
yeah.
so,
They laugh at different places, I was noticing.
yeah.
Then I was laughing at certain things in there, and I'm sure they enjoyed it, but other people were laughing, and I thought, like, I've never heard anybody laugh at that particular
Yeah.
part, you know?
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun. I'm glad you invited me and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And then thank you, though, like you said, it's like St. Louis's, some home movies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what archives, right? For the time.
right,
And the people.
absolutely.
You know, even with all of Pete's style and his way of doing things, nonetheless, it's like I said, it's like a little snapshot of a time, an era, people. Yeah, just a snapshot. And
We were all Pete's home movies.
Yeah.
These are Pete's home movies.
Yeah.
That's the way to
We
put
all
it.
got to be a part of.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to see
Yeah.
people like, you know, you stand close by the mayor.
Mhm.
They didn't like him in Mayor Bosley in this footage here.
No, we hated it.
And when we saw him in person, like at a do downtown for the political party, he was surprised to see us. And we got some pictures of that in there, but if you've seen it before, you'll notice that Freeman Bosley is just there at the
Yeah.
top of the escalator, and then these all burly men.
At the Adams mark, yeah,
They were holding him back.
yeah,
Because I could hear what he was saying, he just wanted to wail on Pete. But it was a sensitive time, right? It's a sensitive time, a political campaign.
You know it's successful.
And that was for like the state and local Democratic Party. You know, and Mayor Bosley, if looks could kill, you know, Pete would have, he would have bought it,
yeah,
you know, just being near him. And we really had to get away from him because, you know, they're very professional, the people around him, they're all good people, dressed to the nines,
yeah.
but they're just they were standing all around him because he just wanted to.
That's a favorite clip
run out
around
there and
election
grab Pete,
season.
Throw him down the escalator or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Because he really didn't like Peter at all. And that's.
but I'm a big fan of your father.
It's understandable. Yeah, what the hell? You know, it was, why he did it, why he felt that way, I never really knew, but
And he was there to push buttons.
I was so happy to be there.
Can you imagine what shows Pete would be doing today with today in St. Louis with, the prosecutor's office?
Mhm.
Oh man, it just would never make it, you know. They wouldn't even give him a press pass nowadays, I don't think.
No.
I don't think.
In the press pass.
No,
Made them all.
No, he did have one though, like for example, when we did with the Klan downtown. I don't know how many people saw that, but it was on the steps of the building. You know, I forget.
I
what the
remember
building
that, I
is.
wasn't on that show. But I
And
remember
we were
that.
on the other side of the fence with the police and the Klan, and he had a pass. Otherwise, he would never have let us in there, on the other side of the fence. And Laurie about that a little bit earlier. Michael Cuffley, you know, he was the spokesperson, right? He was the guy who was putting up the signs on the interstate, that they cleaned that path.
Right.
And then the city council or something removed the sign, and that's how Michael Cuffley, to my memory, came into the St. Louis media scene. But that other gentleman who was with him, I mean, you might remember him, he was pretty young, and he was on those steps holding up a flag and making a Nazi salute,
Yeah.
and he was dressed in black, and he had a black stormtrooper leather coat, you know, past his knees. He had the look, right? That guy was a real gentleman. You know? And we got into Klan events, like, you know, the meeting over in, what was it, on the way to Alton somewhere. Yeah. And we were invited into that meeting. Yes, some people hated us being there right off the bat, but most of the people were pretty friendly. You know, they were happy to, like, one guy was an artist, and he had his stuff laid out on tables, you know. He was really talented, you know, but they have swastikas and, you know, Nazi symbols and in the art. It was wonderful artwork, and you know, if you had that stuff, they'd be collector's items. You know, you know they would be, because, you know, they were not, the person who created them was a full-blood member of the Klan. And I really liked those shows too, personally. And Vladimir was on top form through the whole thing. I think there were maybe 3. One was in Clayton, one was downtown.
There's one in Illinois somewhere, I think.
Well, Pete got invited by Pastor Thomas Robb, so I think he's still kicking, to go to the farm property out in the country down there that the Klan was allowed to use for the cross burnings. So I begged Pete, I said, oh please Pete, take me with you, let's go.
Go watch it. Yeah.
But then Pete would tell me straight up, he said he talked to Pastor Robb, Thomas Robb, and he said, he told Pete, I can't even guarantee your safety, Pete. So Mike, you know, I like Mike, we like Mike, but he's got to stay home, you know, because I can't guarantee that he will leave. Because they don't do that stuff near town, you know. Yeah. That's way out on somebody's farm that gives them the permission to visit. Nobody knows they're there, you know, except for the membership and a few close people, you know, like Pastor Rob and the other guys, you know. But he wouldn't talk to me very much, although I was in the same room talking to him, or while Pete was talking to him, you know, making arrangements. But he liked it, you know, because the Klan was on television. Mm-hmm. And I can remember a few times where we'd be watching the show at 10 o'clock, and Pete would say, you know, I wish we could get the ratings on this because I bet we beat the news on one of those major networks. I bet we got higher ratings for that half-hour slot, you know, 10 to 10:30. That's probably bullshit, right? We probably didn't, but they were that good, I thought. You know?
Well,
they were showing stuff that you don't see in a short segment on a news broadcast.
Yeah.
There just isn't time, and then what do you show? A bunch of people making Nazi signals, and, you know, you can't show that either. So I thought, you know, I like those shows because they were showing people something they really
It's an insider look, yeah.
It's nothing to do with their world.
Right.
But, you know, and considering the scene today, some of that stuff's pretty timely, because it's still true today. You can see it, you know, at the top in the politics and this congressional deadlocks and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and, you know, they didn't have people like that back then because they weren't taken seriously. They weren't taken seriously. But now at least you can see these antics that some of these politicians do, and they're still in Congress. I don't know. But yeah, you're right, it's stale politics. Yeah, this is about Peter, you know.
Well, okay,
it's his thing. It's his thing.
So, Kathy, how did you first get involved in the show?
I saw the first show. Every day I use up a year's worth of luck.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was fantastic. And they were doing an anniversary show at Double Helix when they were still allowed to go into the studio there at Double Helix.
Which was the 7th anniversary, I think?
No? That show wasn't that far in yet.
6th.
Maybe 4th or 5th.
Okay.
And I went down there and got into the building and got up onto, I think it was the 5th floor. And crashed the studio. And we took a freight elevator up there that we didn't know how to operate. It was me and one of my girlfriends. But I was getting up there one way or the other. I'm like, they're not doing this show without me. I gotta be a part of this.
I didn't know
And,
that, that's cool.
Yeah, and we kind of, it's because we went, I think, all the way up to like the 8th or 9th floor, but we got it to go back down. And they said, okay, if we hit the 5th floor, just jump off of it. You know, if the doors even start to open, just dive out of there. And we did, and we both kind of landed. And as I was getting up off the floor, Pete was coming out of the studio, walking towards me, and I was like, hey. And that was it. I was on the show. So
Yeah, it's fun.
crashed the party on a really weird elevator.
Yeah, and Peter, I don't know if you know, he was a broadcaster, a professional broadcaster, of course. But he was also employed, for example, at Channel 11. And back then they had a position called the Master Controller.
Control, yeah.
And so that, you'll see little snippets of that, those air shots from, helicopters of the flood. He would get that from the feed.
Yeah.
And that's like raw footage before the network edits the thing. And so you have all these beautiful shots from way up above. That wasn't us, It wasn't us, but it would have been fun to do, because riding in a helicopter is fun. If you ever get a chance to do it, it's fun. So he was just good at combining all of these things that he could get his hands on. And I'm not sure that Vanessa ever gave him permission to put in that snippet of her singing,
Right.
with a microphone. And she made all of those, the spotlights on the wall, stuck to the wall, and the microphone, and the things. She made all of those things herself, and so that just goes to her sort of personality that she was. She did aspire. She aspired to be a singer. She really did. And I liked her songs because she would, relax and with her mother there, pull out the old guitar.
Mike, how much weed
and
did you
sing
smoke?
them. I thought they were good songs. I thought they were all good songs. I imagine I say like, Vanessa, you got to get with a power pop band. Find 3 guys. Just bang it out.
Yeah.
3 minutes, and bam, 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 and you might pick up some lift on that. But she was an amateur artist, but she was sincere, and that's really kind of all you need.
Were you this much of a weirdo then?
That's why he was behind the camera.
I don't remember you being that much of a weirdo.
I loved her to pieces. I wouldn't change a thing about her. She was just absolutely charming and kindly
No, she
and
was
polite
hilarious.
and sweet, just like you see all the time.
Well, Pete told me when she quit the show, she figured out that we were making fun of her.
Yeah.
A lot of
yeah.
it me.
Yeah.
And quit the show because she didn't know. And it's like, how could you not know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Pete was kind of, could be abrasive.
Well, yeah, and then she would see the edits and like the childish music played over it, and
Her feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
And I couldn't blame her. I talked to Pete about it a few times.
Maybe a naivete, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
A
probably
naivete.
that. And then Pete would just jump on it, He'd take anything he could get to keep going.
Well, it was funny.
That's why he was good at improvising.
yeah.
He was ready to do it.
That's all he did was improvise.
He was fast on his feet, right? He could think fast on his feet. Sometimes it would get him into trouble. Sometimes it got us into trouble. I can't even tell you some of the things that we did. I can't.
I've been thrown out
There's
so
no
many
statute of
places with you.
limitations.
I know, it wasn't great.
Some of these
I
things.
loved getting in trouble with Pete.
Oh my
It was
God.
awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, we didn't want it to get real hot, though, Well, you remember that it was early in the earlier shows. Somebody pulled out a pistol. You could hear it. He was like yelling, trying to rile the dog, right? The watchdog. And then you hear a shot, and that was.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here because that guy wasn't. He was mad.
I don't know what it was about Pete, but for some reason, he liked to he antagonized a lot of people, but dogs especially. He would yell, Tojo, Cujo, and he would yell at the dogs. And
Yeah.
He would always pick the dogs who were the most angry in the neighborhood. And that day, Kathy, Miss Kathy was with him and Mike Cosgrove.
Ah.
And they were down in Cherokee and he was yelling at the dog, Cujo. And the guy told him to leave and then Pete started yelling and then he heard a couple of shots. Gunshots.
Put a couple rounds in the sky.
And Pete was
Whoa.
like, oh, let's get out of here. Let's go fast. And he run, and Kathy was sitting in the front seat and he dumps all of the equipment on Kathy's lap.
Yeah, I was there for that one, and that's true. He was in a hurry to leave.
You were there too?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
there. I was there for that one.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And
It's scary too. It's kind of scary.
Kathy said something like, that's just about right. Leave the girl out here all by herself. But a maniac with a gun. But it was a great segment.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions out here?
It was nice.
No,
It
no?
was a nice run.
Well, Mike, you did camera work for Pete for what, 7 years? 5
At
years?
least maybe 4 or 5.
I mean, you were like the camera
I
guy.
wish, and I think, I heard that Joe Sakai was at this last.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I thought, I was really proud of a lot of the stuff that we did on, I didn't do anything on pro wrestling with Big Daddy before. But then with Giant Assassin, I was, doing that all the time. And I was really happy with that, but I swear, shooting right up through the ropes and stuff, and that equipment was really heavy. Because it was like a camera with a heavy recorder that you carry at the same time.
How much of your time did this stuff occupy? I mean, how much of your time did this stuff
Well, I
occupy?
have every other Friday off,
Yeah.
so that was for that. But there came a point, like with, it was after the Club Fetish show, which is another thing that I thought went great. And Pete made money on that too.
Right, $5 grand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then they
they made
got busted
good money
for
on
that,
that.
didn't
Really?
they? Didn't Club Fetish get busted for all that, and get shut down?
But when Pete, he wanted to keep doing stuff like that, but that scene, that closed door kind of scene, it didn't really start until like 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. So I couldn't do it, because I had, I have to, on a work day, I couldn't do it. So he did it mostly, and then a couple other people, I'm not sure. But, that's the other thing, the Club Fetish pageant. I was on stage, Laurie was on a tripod at the back of the auditorium.
Where was I? I don't remember.
You were running a camera from the back of the auditorium, and I was on a tripod. Yeah, well, I don't know. And I was on the stage, and I'm telling you, it was physically taxing, but with those stage lights, you know what I mean? Those kind of lights, similar to these, the pictures were just so wonderful. Everything was almost perfect. It was so well lit. And he would plug in with the mic onto the camera, but a lot of the time, we just used the live mic. It was a nice hot rod. It was a Hi-8 Sony with a stereo mic parked in the front of it. And you could get pretty good sound on that. And if the lighting was right, the pictures were very nice. They were in broadcast quality, but they were in the neighborhood,
As good as it gets for the time.
Yeah. I don't wonder whatever happened to that camera and stuff. I don't know. Same with his LPs and records. He had vast
That's lost
numbers
too,
of
whatever
them.
happened to all that.
Do you know about anywhere any of
I
that
can
stuff
tell you where
went?
they all ended up. I helped them move twice. The first time from McDonald to Arsenal. And the records, they seem to like multiply.
Yeah.
As you take one to the car, there's 2 there to take another 2, and they just keep, so many records. But when
Yeah.
we moved from Arsenal to Grand, he left a lot of them in the basement.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
And a lot of the ones that he used for the show, I ended up selling it, what's his name? Gene Hafner, with a
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
record
Yep.
exchange.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was pretty well connected with those guys too. And like I said, he was a broadcaster working in Master Control. So he knew people, he knew Pertzborn, You know, he knew, he and I went out to visit Radio Ridge, and that showed up, some of that showed up on the show. You know, great guy. I wish I had been here when he was here. I saw him on YouTube and I was stunned, you know, but I thought, boy, I'm sure glad he's still around. Because he made a lot of people happy with his show. Right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, he was popular. You know, Sunday evening, I think, we were there, Peter and I with him. And he was just a real straight up gentleman, you know, the same way he seemed on that YouTube footage that I saw from a previous gathering.
Yeah.
But I would love to see like pro wrestling.
Yeah.
That feature.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good stuff in there too.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe Sakai was, you know, really good at kind of like Pete, thinking quickly, you know, on his feet. And he even ran for office, remember?
Yeah.
Right.
He ran for
Yep.
alderman.
And he won.
Yeah, and he won. And
Yeah.
Pete sent me out there and said, Mike, just, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go, you know, I don't feel well, whatever. He said, Mike, you're the second unit. Okay, second unit director. Go out there and talk to Joe. And so I walked into his place, in his garage, and he was working on a beautiful motorcycle, you know, in his garage. And we had a really nice rapport, you know, from the wrestling show. And he's a real gentleman, like a gentle giant, you know, kind of guy like Dave, you know, and everything worked out great. I think that turned up on Worldwide Magazine too. Some of that, the campaign.
Yeah, we included it in the cut that we showed at South Broadway.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, because he won.
Yeah.
So he was a real
He traded
neighborhood
a
kind of
job,
guy.
he traded that alderman position for a job with the city.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I don't think he followed through with it after he won, though, right?
No, he
Yeah.
didn't, but she
He's going to see if he could win.
Oh, okay.
They offered him a job.
Yeah, that's why he did it, to get that job.
Oh, man, that's so cool. I didn't know that. That's beautiful. Well, he's a real smart guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your tax dollars at work.
Yeah.
I went to school with
Probably made more money at the other job too. Well, legal money.
Did you go to school with Joe?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can tell you a funny story. It was an American history class for juniors, you know. My last name, we were in, the seating arrangement was by alphabetical order, so my last name's V and then Z, and he was sitting next to me. In American history, the teacher was the football coach. And, you know, he calls everybody's name. He's always, this guy was a real character. He'd have to talk with every student. He had a snippet or something to say. So he well, first he goes up to me and he grabs my cheek and goes, Angelo. This is the teacher. You imagine doing that today?
Oh, my God.
So he gets to Joe. I remember this like it was yesterday. He gets to Joe, and Joe's sitting like this, you know, arms crossed, smiling at him. And he says, Joe, the dog faced the boy.
Whoa!
Yeah. And then he says, the next thing he says, you gonna play football for me, Joe, this year? And Joe said, sitting back, still smiling, I might. And the coach goes, good. Wow. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, teachers don't act that way now.
No.
Even a coach.
And he did that with every student, you know, there's 35 people in the class.
Oh, my God.
There was some kind of goal, shoot the ball with somebody.
Wow. And I don't think you could carry that up today in the classroom. I wonder, you know.
Oh, that's right.
What's that?
I don't think you could actually carry off
Oh,
something
no.
like that
Oh, no.
as a teacher, you know, in amongst any school. You know, that's pretty bold behavior. You poor guy. You know, it's terrible. It's terrible.
I didn't.
But I can picture Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, you know, smiling, and
Yeah.
that's a nice thing to picture. He's a really nice person.
Oh, yeah.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I was glad that he showed up. Big Daddy gave him a call shortly before and got him to show up, so.
Yeah, and I remember seeing Big Roger,
Yep.
Big Daddy on that last YouTube thing, and he looked great.
Yep.
I was so happy that he looked.
Thanks again for dropping in, and we hope you've enjoyed the evening as much as we've enjoyed having you here. Till next time, Please drive carefully, and good night now.
And get the fuck out.
Can't stay here, you know.
I just wanted to ask, what was the radio station that Vladimir was on with,
Oh, I don't remember.
KDHX, right?
KHX, yeah.
Well, yeah, he was on KDHX, but the one that I was talking about, where they blended together,
the
it was on an AM.
sorry.
It was on an
That's
AM.
right.
550, was it?
Yeah, I think so, because we used to drive out to the little tiny place with the tower, the broadcasting tower, and there was nothing out there. It was like in a cornfields,
Oh, yeah.
and then those broadcasting towers, and we walk in there, and I just wish I could. Maybe I'll find them someday. You know, maybe I'll find them.
But it was only a couple month period.
It was only like about 2 months, and then they both they weren't on there anymore, you know, for some reason. And but it was fun to see, and it was fun to visit him at Channel 11, watch him do the master controller thing. You know, I'm sure that's all automated and stuff now. Probably, you know.
Yeah.
But back then, he was really controlling, hitting the button when the commercial would
One time I was
come,
at Channel
and it was
11.
smooth as silk.
He put his hands behind his head and he leaned back against the board and on the TV he went, oh, he started pushing buttons and everything. And then another time, right before the hockey game, or was it the hockey, Angelo?
Yeah,
Yeah,
playoff game.
Before the playoff game came on Channel 11, it switched to a picture of Uncle Nunzio with a deer head and rabbit heads all around the deer head.
Oh, wow. That's classic television right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
Those were the highest ratings, Channel 11.
Probably, yeah.
Well, thank you to all of you for
Thank you, Jim.
showing up
Yeah,
and
thank you.
telling your stories.
Yeah, thank you for keeping this thing going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because,
And don't
like I
stop.
said, these are artifacts of a changing city. You know,
Yeah.
It's really different now.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, you're singing and bringing music to my soul. Uprise me and baptize me, roll, Jordan, roll.